We implement 4-day work weeks or 4.5-day work weeks at Cleverly. Pretty much Friday, the half day are off if you want. All your stuff is taken care of. Usually the right answer is the simplest, most obvious one. Sometimes we just overthink it a lot. In our lifetime, we're going to see the first one-person billion-dollar company.
Welcome to the Go to Market podcast. In this episode, we're joined by Bruce Merrill, the co-founder of Cleverly, who is going to share his journey from college dropout to building a successful LinkedIn lead generation business. You'll learn how Bruce transitioned from working at his brother's tech company to launching Cleverly, the importance of high-quality customer support and streamlined processes in scaling a business, and how leveraging AI tools has revolutionized their operations and client management. This show is brought to you by Leadbird, a lead generation agency specializing in performance-driven, hyper-personalized cold emails that generate demos and drive growth. Go to leadbird.io to learn more. All right, let's get started with today's show.
All right, what's going on, guys? I got one of my homies, Bruce from Cleverly. He's an OG in this space. It's actually funny. Before I got to know you, I used to see you on LinkedIn. Used to see you guys like on Twitter and stuff. And I was like, oh, these guys are killing it. And this is like when Leadbird was like, a baby. And like, obviously Cleverly's been around for how long you guys been around? Like what, 4 years?
No, 6, probably going on 7 years now.
Yeah. So for the people who don't know, Bruce is a co-founder at Cleverly. They're like a LinkedIn lead gen agency. They were ahead of like the lead gen agency curve really early on in the game. And, if you guys go look them up, thousands of customers, hundreds, if not thousands of reviews, all, 5 stars, all that good stuff. They've been killing the game. A lot of like what I've built at Leapbird, like from a process point of view, has come from conversations with Bruce. But yeah, let's go ahead and get started into this, Bruce. You want to just like kind of walk through like the early days at Cleverly and how you guys even came to the idea of like creating Cleverly?
Yeah, man. So, just to give you like the SparkNote version, I was in college. I dropped out of college, and I was like, I was living on the East Coast at the time, Maryland, and didn't know what to do. And my brother was just so happened to be starting a tech company in LA. So like, hey, I packed everything in my car, drove across country. Like, hey, bro, I don't know what to do. Can I just bum it on your couch until I figure it out? And he's like, yeah, of course. Then I ended up kind of working as like the intern in marketing and sales for this company called LeaseLock at the time. And didn't know anything about marketing and sales, but go in, just like read a bunch of books, read a bunch of articles, whatever, and like try to apply things. And in the 2-year time frame where I was helping out LeaseLock, we developed this LinkedIn lead gen strategy, but we were doing it all manually at the time. Pretty much I would just get on my phone and connect with his, property managers. That's who he's trying to target, and then send them a bunch of messages and try to book meetings with them, like all done manually. And then after 2 years of doing that, his company actually ended up raising a Series A and closed a bunch of deals from it. And I was burnt out and I wanted to start my own thing. And then like the first idea that popped in my head to start a company was like, oh shit, I should turn this LinkedIn lead generation strategy into its own business. And from there, just snowballed, man. Like met up with Nick, my co-founder, and over time we just kept iterating on, figuring out how to provide a very valuable service at a low cost. So we used to offer a service at $99 a month, fully done for you LinkedIn lead gen, copywriting, targeting, onboarding, tech stack, tools, everything for $99. And then we were closing a shitload of deals and just iterated on that, slowly added a setup fee, made it an actual business over time. And then, we probably get into more details on that stuff later, but just the inception of Cleverly came from that. I used it at my brother's company that I worked for, and turned it into a model, knowing that the process works and it generates leads.
Yeah. And I think y'all's process it's actually kind of crazy. So like for everyone listening, it's, you guys charge roughly about $500 a month, and you guys have the best product at that price point in terms of like customer service and as well as like results, because you guys provide a dedicated account manager that's American based, copywriting written from that account manager. And then like, they're just kind of leading the entire strategy on it and kind of getting everything running and going for that client. And like, that's insane. Like that's like the way you guys have built that model and built it this far, like absolutely crazy.
Yeah, dude. One of our account managers, like at their max, are probably managing between 150 to 200 actual clients at any given moment. So
Yeah.
yeah, the back end processes and efficiencies have to be on lock, or else the whole company breaks down.
Yeah. You know, it's hilarious. So whenever I tell any of my friends, like a lead bird CSM might manage anywhere from like 30 to 50 accounts, they're like, dude, that's insane. That's crazy. That's a lot of clients for CSM. And I'm like, oh, you guys don't even know. Y'all don't know Cleverly. Like these are, and honestly, like I remember when we had our first conversation, it kind of blew my mind. Like I was like it opened my eyes. Like I was like, oh, like a CSM can manage that much, or an account manager can manage that much. They're like, are we supposed to do that? And that really changed a lot for us. Cause I mean, like, obviously that just increases your margins and everything of that sort. And I actually
Yeah,
think it's better whenever an account manager manages a lot of accounts, because they just get so much more experience under their belts and they see and are exposed to so many different businesses and offers. And so when it comes to the actual like fulfillment end, like they do better,
for
in my
sure.
opinion.
Yeah, there's more inputs, more knowledge, dude. That like over time, we're looking at, if someone's with us for a year, they probably have the business acumen of like a Harvard MBA. Just like the sheer CEOs and founders that are dealing with us on a daily basis, the campaigns they're crafting, dude, the knowledge is invaluable for sure.
Yeah. And, I guess like in y'all's early days, like walk me through like, past you and Nick, cause you guys were, obviously like running everything, in the beginning. Like what was that first hire? And then like, what was that like? And like getting that first account manager in, like, how'd you guys just start scaling out? Cause now you guys have a pretty big team. I've met most of the guys in LA.
Yeah.
So yeah, like what was that like?
Yeah, team is about 25, 30 now, kind of across the globe. Mostly US based, but some international. Actually, early on, it was me, Nick, and Daniel. Um, so
Shout out Dan.
Dan's our chief operations officer, been with us since day one as well. Pretty much co-founder status. But we were managing. I was doing all the sales. Like I was legit taking 15 to 20 sales calls a day. These were 15-minute calls for like a year or 2 years on the phone, just boom, pitching out $99 lead gen. Nick was doing all the account management on the back end, and Daniel was doing all the ops, like running the actual accounts, just us three. And we think we scaled us three to like 100 accounts, right? And then at that point, things started to break. So we're like, okay, let's start hiring. We got to start finding someone. So our first, a few hires were an account manager, which is now our chief strategy officer, Cam. Uh, he was our first official Cleverly account manager. And at the time, he was actually making more salary wise than anyone at the company, including like, we're just like, we need this role and this is the risk we're willing to take. And it was probably one of the best risks that we ever taken. Cause I think a lot of early on as founders, they don't want to hire because they know that the salary cost is just too high and they're not willing to take that risk. But if you find the right person for that role and you're willing to take that risk, you'll see that it opens up you and your company to a whole nother level, right? So Cam came on, that was the first hire. Then we hired a sales rep to start. Cam allowed Nick to kind of take over and allowed Nick to start moving into more of be able to run the business, focus on client strategy without having to deal with the actual one-on-one clients. Then we hired a sales rep on my side for me to get off sales calls and close deals. And then again, so now I can focus on running the business instead of being on calls all day. And then we had someone on the ops team to help Daniel. So it's like, as the company grew, we never overhired. We hired as needed when we knew that the amount of clients coming in, like it was going to be too much for the current team to handle. And it was easy because we know when you're young, the company is young, you kind of just dip into your personal resources and your personal network, right? So we hired a lot of people from our friend group, and that allowed us to scale pretty fast, without going through a formal hiring process that we go through now. Yeah, don't know if that answers your question.
I don't even remember the question now. Play. No, but that's super sick. And then I guess like, I mean, to kind of touch on that as well, I think like one thing I always tell a lot of people that ask me like, oh, like how do I get this lead gen agency to grow like crazy? I'm always like, come in with the expectation you're not gonna make a single dollar for like the next year and be okay with that and be comfortable with that. and then you could build off of that. Cause yeah, I think I was in a similar boat with Leapbird in the first year. I really didn't make any money at all. But I was able to just put like every single dollar we made back into trying out new team members, trying to figure out how to build out the product and the process and all that stuff. And really just see another day. And I think that was like very pivotal for us to like be able to grow. I think if I was kind of like, paying myself out really a good amount and
Yeah.
stuff and,
No, no.
enjoying life and all that, I would have never been able to figure out like, oh, this is how you hire and this is how you like build a product and this is how you kind of get this thing going and all that. So
Yeah.
yeah, I guess, yeah, a very, very important thing for like everyone that's like listening, like in the beginning days, like just eat the shit, and just figure it out.
For sure, dude. And like stay true to the core values. Like we knew, me and Nick and Dan, when we first started, like we knew at the beginning, we never wanted to raise any money and we wanted this to be a lean, profitable machine, right? Like profitability over anything. Cause like if you can't be profitable, then you don't have a company, right? You don't have a business if you're not profitable, unless you raise a lot of money, right? So if that was a fundamental value, then it's just like you operate with that context every single time with any decision you make moving forward. And if you can stay true to that, then um, it allows you to be more flexible as time goes on. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And it's funny. I feel like there's a common saying on like LinkedIn and Twitter. It's just like, you pay like the price you pay is the thing you get or the quality of the, like whatever, like the quality you get. Right. But I think you guys have like nailed it so well on the head of like, high quality product. And it's not just like a productization of service, but also like a high level personalization that you give each client. How'd you kind of like, I guess, like build that out and kind of make it like where every client feels like, they're getting not just thrown into like a machine and, things happen but like they really feel like, oh, like this is a one-on-one
yeah,
support and all that.
yeah. To be honest, I don't know if it was something intentional in the fact of like that's how we thought about it from the beginning. It's kind of we just thought about it from as a common sense perspective, right? So the common sense thing is that like when you have a client coming on, they want to be heard, they want to be taken care of, they want the best support possible, right? The best kind of effort from you. So we knew that like at our affordable price point, if we could figure out how to pair the high, like world-class customer support and world-class account management, client success with that, then we have a winning product. And the only way that makes it possible is with a streamlined system. So like we have our onboarding, our account management, everything is systemized in a way. But if you look at our system from a high level view, we have these personalization factors within them that gives that feeling, even though, it is a very custom process, but within a framework, right? So, and then it's just training, right? We make sure that all the little kind of fundamental things are taken care of, personalization, making sure, needs are handled, addressing the client, walking them through, handling objections, whatever, next steps, action items, all of these fundamental things need to be taken care of 100% of the time for every client and like no exceptions, right? So it's having that standard, having these systems, having the framework, and then having the accountability system so that it gets done and these check boxes get hit off. And then once you can figure that out, you can scale while still maintaining that personalized feeling or personalized experience on the client side.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and like, I know like y'all's back end ops and like you and Nick pretty well. So I've seen like the level of support and care that you guys give. It's kind of nuts. Like you guys are at like, what, like 1,500 clients or something absurd like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's still like a, response time under 2 hours across all your AMs.
Yeah.
And then it's like, you just built out like a whole entire AI thing to be able to respond to them with not just work the response, but with like a quality level response. And, we've taken a lot of the frameworks, honestly, you guys have used and built over the years and just put them inside of Leapbird. It cut my learning curve by like, 2x. Just seeing like how you guys go about that.
It's 2 ways though, because like maybe in the beginning you're having, but I feel like now you shift back and you pump ideas back into me. And now I'm implementing a lot of the stuff that the things that you're doing a lead vert too. So it's cool. It's actually, I like this because it shows like how things always come around, right? Like we came in and we met and then we started working together. And then you're like, hey, how do you do this? How do you do this? That? And I was like telling you exactly what we did it cleverly. And this was like 2 years ago. And then now that I'm back in the mix, I'm like, yo, how do you do this? How are you doing that? And then you're just shooting me what you're doing at lead vert. And now it's just kind of like we're both elevating each other, which is tight.
Yeah. And I'm actually curious on this. So like, and I think like in our space, like the lead gen agency space, like all the lead gen agencies all kind of work together in some fashion. Like a lot of my friends, like obviously like in our network specifically, it's like you and Nick. And then it's like, I have a whole bunch of other guys from like that we met in SF together and stuff. It's not like the competitive environment where, it's, you're competing with like the biggest guy and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I'm curious on your take, like when you guys first started, there probably wasn't as much competition as there is now, right?
What's funny, man, is that I think there was actually more competition. Like when we first launched Cleverly and this low cost LinkedIn lead generation model, done for you service, I think we were one of the first companies to do it. And then actually like there were like 10 companies that spun up real quick in that first 1 or 2 years. And we're like, whoa, they're all kind of copying our website, our model, everything. I'm pretty sure they're all out of business now in terms of low cost. So I think the competition for our direct competitors was there more early on. And now actually, I don't really know too many low cost done for you LinkedIn lead generation. But competition in terms of like software, if we're competing with other softwares, higher end agencies, do for sure. There's a lot more competition right now, especially with AI coming out and you can spin up a company real quick. But at the end of the day, man, if you're targeting SMBs as your core audience, your core client base, like the way I see this, I mean, it's like an unlimited market, and like there's always room. There's always going to be another. Your prospect or your client list is infinite. So like, there's no need to like
Yeah.
fight over anyone.
Yeah. No, I agree. And then in the beginning, you mentioned that you guys were just using like LinkedIn lead gen, outbound lead gen to get a lot of your clients. And now that's kind of like, you guys can kind of mold it into that and other like other marketing channels. Like, I guess like you want to kind of talk about like y'all's go to market when you first started versus like where you're at right now.
Yeah. What's funny is we actually don't leverage. We don't even use any if or any outbound LinkedIn lead generation for ourselves anymore. Mainly because most of our uh, marketing and the marketing spend and our channels are inbound now. So I think one of the best things that we did early on is we hyper focus into getting our website to convert really well from a new visitor into a booked meeting, knowing that if we have someone on a booked meeting, we have a solid sales team and a pitch and process, et cetera, we'll close them, right? So like the best thing we did was we read a book called Story Brand by, I forgot the author, but Story Brand something, and it gives you like 7 tips on what you should do to your website to convert it. And we literally implemented all 7. And then like within that week, we started running some Google ads to it and we started booking meetings, right? So early on, actually, a lot of our strategy was Google ads to our website, book meetings, close deals. And that allowed us to scale a lot faster than doing any outbound because we had that dialed in from the get-go. And yeah, man, I like there's one piece of advice is like, don't underestimate the power of a high converting website. Because
Yeah.
whether
No,
you're doing outbound, whether you're doing inbound, everyone's going to go to your website no matter what. So like you need to be, I was obsessed with it, man. I would spend like days just staring at our homepage, thinking about like, what can I do? Like what can be better here? Yeah, that's,
yeah. No, and I agree. I think a lot of people try to overcomplicate just like client acquisition and sales and stuff like that. And they try to figure out like what's that growth hack that I can implement and try to like, 10x my business overnight. And if you kind of like, and I think this is like a learning lesson for myself. It's like you forget all the fancy stuff. You just come back down to the fundamentals. And all it is like, okay, you have a traffic source and that could be Google ads. It could be cold email. It could be LinkedIn outbound. Right over that traffic source is, like you mentioned, it just goes straight to the landing page. And it's like, if your landing page is just like decent or above average, it has a
clear.
higher chance of
It
converting.
has to be super clear, right? Like there's just things that like, there's like 5 things that are just like clear, persuasive, upfront, like everything, then you just increase your odds by 5x on closing a deal.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And it's like, as long as you have that offer that, has that product market fit, can solve the pain point of the person that's coming on board, then it's like, you really don't have to have like a 10 out of 10 closer or a 10 out of 10 account executive. Like they'll still be able to close at that,
Mhm.
20 to 30% close
Yeah.
rate on cold traffic and it all be good. I also think like another thing that you guys have done really well, over the years is just like the social proof. And it's like something that, we took as well. It's
Yeah.
like, okay, we gotta load ourselves with social proof. You want to kind of touch on that and like, what you guys have been able to accomplish?
Yeah. So like just for context, we have over 1,000 5-star reviews across 3 platforms, G2, Clutch, and Trustpilot. And actually, I learned this from one of my really good buddies who was in the startup world, right when I was starting Cleverly. And he told me, he's like, hey man, like you can have a great product, you can have all these things, but like end of the day, people, social proof is, social proof of your best clients and your happy clients is what's going to get you over the edge in terms of getting you close deals from new clients. So I'll say 2 things: case studies, reviews, slash testimonials, right? So early on, we implemented a feedback system, feedback with clients, right? After every Calendly call, we would send them an automated Calendly email saying, how was our call? How was this? And obviously we made sure that every call with client was like of utmost quality. So we got a lot of, 5 stars from those reviews. And we pushed everyone that were leaving us this feedback directly to Trustpilot. Hey, can you just leave us a quick review? We would love, we would appreciate if we can share this with, our anyone coming on. And then we took all the reviews, but I think Trustpilot was our main platform from there. And then we embedded that onto our website. So, you can see 50, 100, 200 reviews over time. And like the truth is, man, if you come to any company and you see 1,000 5-star reviews as a Trustpilot actual embed that links directly to Trustpilot, so you know it's legit, and you see that directly as one of the first things you see when you land on the page, that's going to catch your eye. And if that also aligns with a good product, you're probably going to book a meeting with them. So yeah, and it just boils down to still providing a great service, right? A great experience, because no one's going to leave you a 5-star review if you're not doing a good job for them. So first of all, you got to do a good job for your clients. Second of all, you got to implement a system that provides that feedback loop. Third, you got to now display those reviews in a way on your website in order to, make all 3 work together. So
Yeah. And it's funny because I made a YouTube video and I kind of showed that feedback loop system. And I shouted it out to you. Obviously, I was like, hey, like Bruce taught me this one. This one's been a huge one. And I think people would now talk about it on Twitter and LinkedIn, and they'll say, oh, like Nick showed us this and this is a great method. And I'm like, listen to me, I swear. But no, we implemented that same thing. And I think it's a huge win. One, yeah, you collect more reviews. I think the other piece that it really helps us on is like keep tabs on our AMs. So it's like,
for sure.
if someone fills out that feedback form and they're saying like a 3 out of 5 stars and they put in their reason, XYZ didn't do this, then it's like, oh, there's something wrong in our process, or our AM there isn't doing that well. And we're able to step in and make sure we're able to get those results and
No,
kind of fix all those stuff there. So I think,
yeah,
like phenomenal way to go about it. And it's a
yeah.
simple setup. So all you guys have to do, it's like Bruce said, like after Calendly call is completed, they have an automation where you can send an
1
email
hour
after.
later. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you just have a link to a type form, and then you could just do routing logic in it to say 5 out of 5 stars. The ending redirects to Trustpilot. If it's anything less, redirect to just like a form where they could fill out, and then make that pop into a Slack channel. And now you're aware of like everything. We have a Slack channel called literally Lead Bird Reporting. And that's how we just like, it's just a feedback loop. Like you can really get nitty and gritty with like, okay, how is this AM doing for
Yeah.
this account? And kind of like prolong your success with the clients. Cause like, if they're having, a 3 out of 5 experience, and you can catch that on early and you can go address that immediately, maybe get them a new AM, maybe go in and, fix whatever issue that they have, they're much more likely to stay than if, you don't have that feedback form and they just feel like that the entire way through and you have no insight
sure.
into your AM's business.
For sure.
Yeah.
And it has to be automated. So like you don't
Yeah.
want the AM to reach out. You do it the Calendly, so it's all automated. You never think about it again.
Yeah.
So
No, I agree. And then I guess like another thing that we touched on was just like, and it's like one of the things that we've been speaking about a lot recently in our personal conversations. It's like AI and like the impact
Uh,
of AI.
AI. Yes, taking our jobs.
We're done for. But do you want to kind of talk about like where you see, or I mean, yeah,
Yeah,
you want to just kind of riff on like AI and like where you've
yeah,
implemented it
dude.
kind of cleverly recently?
So I'm gonna tell you the. I'll give you the three huge things that are gonna revolutionize our business. Huge, revolutionize,
Clip it,
fucking.
clip it.
So I'll just give you three things that we've implemented right now, already implemented, and it's just changed the game. And before I do that, let me just talk to you how I'm viewing how I see AI. So I actually see AI as a leverage pooler, right? So what one person would be able to accomplish and output, and results, but without AI, now with the proper system, proper setup, proper AI tools, they can do 10x the output. So that's the way I'm looking at it. I'm not like trying to really replace anyone, right? I'm actually using it for AMs, copywriters, everyone on the team to make their lives 10 times easier, right? And also the final output, final product or whatever work they're doing is better, higher quality. So faster, easier, higher quality with the leveraging of the tool. So one person can now have 10x the leverage. So I want to use big fancy numbers right there. That's how I'm seeing it. The way we've implemented it in three simple ways, right? Um, Response handling, right? We have response handlers that respond on behalf of clients. Now with AI, we can create custom AI projects, right? Whether it's ChatGPT, whatever AI tool you want to use. We upload all the client information that we've gathered. We set custom rules. And then now our response handler, instead of having to think we have response templates that we know works, all uploaded to the same project for that client. Response handler now just literally copies and pastes the response they got on the client LinkedIn inbox into the AI. AI will spit out the exact response that a good SDR would write or the client would write. And now they copy and paste that response back into LinkedIn inbox. And it always pushes with next actions, call to action, whatever, providing value for the prospect in the client's inbox. So that has allowed us to scale our response handling service with high quality, really fast. That was implemented a few weeks ago. The next thing is copywriting and strategy, client strategy, targeting, right? We do all this shit manually, man. Like clients fill out a long ass questionnaire and our AMs, our copywriter has to think through what are the right angles, what are the right framework, what are the right questions to ask, what are the right value adds. We have, a document with 100 different sequences, our best performing sequences frameworks. We have a master prompt that has instructions on how to leverage these frameworks. And then we have our client document that gives us 30 answers about their about their company, question answers, really in depth about everything that we need to know about the company. We combined all three, and now we can get any strategy, high performing client document or client sequences, copywriting, targeting, strategy question, all done through AI like that. Literally almost as instant once all the documents are uploaded to our custom projects. Again, that's changed how we operate on our side and allowed us to provide a better quality product to the client and more consistent, really, that's going to drive better results for them. And the last thing is on the support side. So you hit me up on this with the front, integrating front-end ChatGPT. So anyone who doesn't know what front.com, we use it at Cleverly. It has allowed us to scale customer support at our company. I think Leadbird uses it as well. Amazing company. I think they're worth like $1 trillion in the last 3 years. But we basically push any new inbound email we get from clients from front into ChatGPT as a Zapier integration right now. ChatGPT and an assistant and with some custom instructions. And then that ChatGPT now pushes the response to that email trained on our company back into front as a drafted email or a comment, so that now every inbound email we get from a client is already pre-drafted or pre-created, ChatGPT created a reply for, and the AM or customer support can now use that reply, maybe take snippets from it, or they can ignore it and just reply whatever they want. But we found that this now allows AMs and our whole team just to answer emails like 10 times faster. So 3 areas, again, all 3 areas that I've explained showed you how with AI tool, it is now amplified and saved a lot of time across my team. So now maybe instead of at our current load, we can only handle 1,500 clients max. Maybe with the same size team, we can now handle 3,000 clients. Like, who knows?
Yeah. And I think like the cool thing about AI is, and you touched on this, is like, it's like quality, right? Like, yeah, it can get work done and all that, but like the level of quality, like AI is smarter than all of us. It knows more, it can write more, just knows, it's just way more in depth. And so it's like, you know, you can have it do a lot of like QAing. So that's like one thing that we're doing right now at Liebert. It's like a lot of the stuff that like I need peace of mind because I'm like, oh, somebody needs to be checking this every day to make sure that it got like taken care of. Like you could literally just have an automation where you use AI to go check it and then check it to see if it's quality and then give you a report back. And
For
I
sure.
think like that is so fundamentally like game changing. Like I think like you can literally run companies so lean right now and just have a whole bunch of these like ChatGPT assistants and type related things and just like use them to like scale. And I also think that like it enables you to have like, or like it enables you to onboard people quicker that may not have like experience in like your specific field and have them to be as just as competent as like someone that's had like 15 years of experience, which is
Not
like,
that. Absolutely, dude. Absolutely. And the way I see it too is like, because if you can get the AI quality to super high, right? Copywriting, support emails, etc., and you have that person come in, like you said, maybe not as experienced, what's going to end up happening as they're interacting with the AI and they're seeing the output, it naturally will train them into having a higher quality output themselves, right? Because now they're matching, they have to up level to match with AI, right? So I can see it's just a natural kind of symbiotic relationship between, also up leveling your team.
yeah. And it's like, if you have those people that have like that 10 years of experience or whatever it may be, like they just have a lot of experience under their belt. And when they get into the habit of just naturally using AI more, they just get work done so much quicker. And then it's like so much less brain thinking and more like, just like, let me just write out this prompt. Let me just toss this in there and kind of getting the output done. And I've seen that just like be a huge game changer. Like,
For sure.
I think in the future, like you could take, like you could just like really reduce the amount of like ops or like human ops issues that you have in any org and just compress that to like, 1 to 3 people that just have a ton of like these prompts and AI agent and AI workflows to just kind of like automate and simplify their workflows
Yeah,
across
man.
the board.
We're in our lifetime, we're going to see the first one-person billion-dollar company. Like, no doubt. If that's not already a thing, but I'm pretty sure we're going to see a lot more of those pop up.
Yeah. And then, has there been anything like on the sales side that you guys have done using AI that you've seen like a huge impact from?
Well, we're still testing and seeing how this one was going to work out. But our head of sales basically took our top performing sales reps transcripts, like his like 50 transcripts of all deals he closed, right, off of Zoom. And then now he told AI, he created a prompt and said, "Hey, this is our best sales rep, blah blah blah." And then he took the recording of some newer reps that we hired that aren't closing at a high rate. And then he basically told the AI, "Okay, now give me feedback based on Oz, who's our top performing sales rep. Now, what should the new AE do based on what Oz does consistently in order to close his deals?" And it actually provides some really actionable feedback, no fluff feedback that pairs really well with our head of sales in order to now have these one-on-one with the AEs. Saves him time. He doesn't have to listen to like a crazy amount of recordings, and he can give direct actionable feedback. So it's still paired with the human, so giving the feedback using AI as a tool to maybe find some blind spots that he hasn't thought about yet. So that's one. Nothing else crazy yet. We're always thinking about new things, but yeah, that's probably the biggest one.
Yeah. And I think like that's how the best use case of AI is. It's like, I still think that AI in a lot of cases, it still gives a lot of fluff and like may give a lot of generic things.
Yeah,
And like
yeah.
sometimes it just goes overboard and just will like pull things that aren't too important. So it's like, if you could take someone that's already like an expert and then give them like what the AI output is, and they're able to look at it and say, yeah, this is like generic and irrelevant,
Exactly.
but like
Yeah.
this right here, perfect. Okay, let me call this out and show this to the rep. I think
I-
that's the best use of AI right now. I think people who automate end to end with AI are kind of like shooting themselves in the foot, because it's like, I think there's very few processes like end to end where it could be completely automated right now with AI, just because like it
Quality,
doesn't.
quality is
Yeah,
lacking. Yeah,
yeah. But it's still better than like, I would say like 80% of stuff, like other options out there, or like just doing it completely manual.
for sure.
Um,
And then, but like, what's cool is that if you have the right person who understands the problem, and you compare, if they can be a good prompt engineer, or you compare them with a good prompt engineer, you can use the two to iterate off each other over time, right? So understand the problem, see the output. Now, how do I iterate on my prompt in order to get a better output or upload better, more information, right? So like, just how I'm thinking about it, everything with AI is an iterative process to get to a, super refined end product result. And if you can just do that, you're going to get over time, you're going to find AI is going to get better, and your refinement's going to get better, and it will spit out what you want at the end.
yeah. And this kind of takes me to my next point. And it's like something I've learned and picked up from you, like across the last 2 years. It's like your philosophy on just like simplifying things. Like, I think like one of my first conversations with you, like you were like, hey, like show me exactly A to Z, like what you're doing. And like I showed you this, and then you're like, dude, this is all dumb. Like, you don't need this, you don't need that, you don't need this, you don't need that. Take this out, put this in. And like basically you took my 30-step process and condensed it into like 5 steps. And I was like, oh, this is crazy. But yeah, do you want to kind of touch on like your just like philosophy on how you kind of think about like simplifying things from an ops perspective?
Yeah, man. I think if like anything, as more time goes on and as something gets bigger, things just naturally get more complex, right? So more people, more clients, more processes, more systems to like work in the edge cases, et cetera. So it has to be like embedded into the company to review everything and continue to like keep questioning and saying like, wait, why are we doing that again? Like, why isn't it just a 2-step process? Why is it 10 steps? So like, because you know that the natural thing of anything is to become way more complicated than it should be. So you have to be proactive in reverting it back and keep simplifying when needed, right? So that when it does get bigger, 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 it'll then get more complicated. And then you keep refining, and it, to me, the way I see simplification is just like, you can only simplify something when you understand the problem really, really well, right? When you understand the process really, really well, that is when you now understand it so well you can simplify it. But you cannot simplify something that you do not understand, or else you're going to be missing a lot of key components in your simplification process. So actually, the test really is, if you really understand something, can you simplify it? I think Steve Jobs had his own version of that, really has that, and that holds true. So that's just what I see, man. As just, it saves a lot of headache, saves a lot of time, saves a lot of energy in the long run. If you can just take something complicated and make the system way easier for everybody.
Yeah. And it just goes back to saying like, simple scales, fancy fails. And I think like everyone goes into periods of operational bloat. So like, you have a simple process, you scale it, and then you start to really add a lot of like operational things over time as you're scaling to kind of handle those edge cases. And then you get to a point and you're like, okay, now let's go in and cut out all this bloat, all these processes that you think would have like impacted the bottom line or impacted the main thing that you're trying to optimize for, and it doesn't. And you just have to be, you have to be smart about just like cutting it out sooner than later. We just went
Yeah.
through a huge like ops cutting thing. I was like, we're looking at this number, this number, and this number. And I'm like, these 3 numbers, we can't really influence them. And like, it really doesn't matter. Let's cut them out. Like, we're not even
Yeah.
looking at them. All the process related to them, cut them out. Like, keep it that simple. I also think that like, when you keep yourself simple and like you focus a lot more on automations and processes to be simple and whatnot, rather than hiring a lot of people to kind of carry out processes and workflows and stuff, you you enable yourself to be able to pivot quicker, which is like so important in the startup scene. Cause it's like, you know,
Things
tomorrow,
change
like,
on a day. Yeah.
yeah, it's like tomorrow, something might get completely wiped out. And it's like, if that was a core function of your business, you need to know how to pivot quickly. And it's like something that I constantly just keep engraving in my brain. Cause it's just like certain things just always move. I think for us, like, for example, was like the like email deliverability and email count stuff. Like I think
Yeah.
in the, just the 2 years I've known you, in the last like 6 months, I've told you like at least like 10 different things that we adjusted. And now I'm just like, okay, the simple thing to do is just have more accounts and just have backup systems and just keep it at that. It's not, I'm not
Yeah.
going to try to figure out these like intrinsic things. Like I have the fundamentals down and I'm just gonna have backups and we're just gonna keep it that simple. And then just let it rip. So yeah, I don't know. I think that's a very important thing. Um,
Yeah.
it,
Honestly, usually the answer is the most obvious one, right? Usually the right answer is the simplest, most obvious one. Sometimes we just overthink it a lot.
yeah. How do you think about like when to automate versus delegate or versus like outsource when it comes to just like ops?
Dude, I've never thought about that question in my life.
But hey, we're putting you on the spot now. Come up with an answer.
Uh, I think it just goes back to common sense, dude. It's just like, if it can be automated and it makes sense, do it. Right. Um, that's that. I would say that's just how I think about it. If Zapier can do it, Zapier and some integrations to my tech stack can do it, then why not? If I can't, maybe I'll go and like look around and see if there's anyone I can, a consultant or agency that can help with it. If they can't do it, then maybe it can be automated. I don't know. So there's just some common sense stuff that things like should be automated. Like, for example, follow up sales emails. That like anything follow up should be automated, right?
Mhm.
CRM stuff, like just this like across your business. I can guarantee like there's like 100 common sense things that should be automated that are not being automated across most businesses. Just because no one's really spent the time to think through it and or even knows like it's possible. And all it really takes is just sometimes someone just putting a little idea to show that it is possible to automate a lot of things that you don't think are automatable, and then that will like spark a huge flame. So yeah.
You know why I asked you that? Because I think I asked Nick this like a year and a half ago, and he actually gave me a really good answer. And it was like one of those things where it's like you hear it, and then you're like, "Oh, I'm remembering that forever." And so basically, like what Nick told me was like, okay, so like when you look at and for everyone listening, Nick is his co-founder at Cleverly. Not me, Nick Verity,
Shout out
co-founder.
Nick. Yeah,
Shout
shout
out
out
Nick.
Nick.
Shout out Nick. Yeah. So basically, Nick was like, okay, like you only want to automate something if, like, let's say because what a lot of people do is like they automate something that they do like once a month, and that one time a month, like once a month thing, takes them like 15 minutes to do, and then it's like you try to figure out how to automate it, and it takes you 3 hours to do, and then it makes like no sense because it's like you just spent 3 hours on something that takes you 15 minutes to do. That's like if you did it every month for the entire year, you still didn't save any time. You lost
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
So like you kind of have to look at like, okay, is it quick to automate? If so, let's do it. If not, then let's delegate it. And then if it's something that's like overly complex and like you don't think you have the systems and processes to handle it, then you outsource it with the intention to bring it back in-house. And I felt like that was a good framework to kind of like whenever I'm thinking about a new task and stuff and who to give it to or what I should do about it, how I think about it.
Yeah, that is good.
So that's why I asked you. I wanted to see how you kind of came about it. Um, so I guess like just like what the rise of just like other lead gen agencies and lead gen vendors hopping into this space, like what advice would you give to like a new lead gen agency founder to just be like, as big as Cleverly or as successful as Cleverly in the lead gen space?
Mm, don't don't do it. Uh, advice, man. Like I think I don't want to say anything that's going to be cliche. That's why I'm thinking something. I think it boils down to, man, like 10,000 iterations. Like really, like you don't understand how many little iterations it took to get Cleverly to where it is right now. I'm sure the same with Leadbird. 10,000 iterations, 20,000 iterations, 100,000 iterations. Everything is a test, right? Like nothing is final. That is it. Like when you understand that and you understand that everything about your company is moldable, then it's just like fair game. Okay, test works, cool, let's run with it. Test does not work, iterate, iterate, iterate. Don't give up. Iterate, iterate. And then eventually to the point where it makes sense to drop something if it's not working, right? But continue iterating. Website, iterate, iterate, iterate. Process, iterate, 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 right? Product, design, everything. Just like that's the mindset. Because if you iterate on something 10,000 times, I can't give you an exact guarantee, but I'm pretty sure that final product's going to be really good, right? So it's also just knowing a balance between like you have to be, end of the day, you have to, if you want to survive long term and you're not just trying to make a quick buck, you know, you have to be profitable, which means you have to provide a really good service, which means that your clients, and then they have to get results. Your business is going to go out of business if you cannot get results for your clients. So that then drops you into, okay, now I got to be obsessive about how can I provide a service that's scalable, but fundamentally going to get my clients as a lead gen agency more leads, but actually more important, not just more leads, more closed deals, more revenue, because that's how you get them to stay as a client. If you get them leads, but they don't close any deals, they're going to churn out, right? How can you get someone to close deals? It does not matter what you're doing. If you could figure that out for someone, you have a business because someone will pay you money to get them close deals. Yeah. So I would say focus on those fundamental things first. And then once you have something that works, now with your team, build out a way to scale that, right? Don't build out a whole big team until you figure out something that actually provides value to people. Yeah, that would be
Yeah.
my advice. Value over everything, man. Value, profitability, just like really hone in on like, how can I make this better for the client? Like,
Yeah. And I think like to touch on the iteration piece, I think that's a huge one. Cause like, and I do this a lot too in the beginning days. It's like when you're a first time founder, you want everything to be perfect. And so you try to build what you think is going to be the perfect system and the perfect like product. And then when you have that product, you kind of try to shove it down people's throat because you're just like, oh, I spent so much time doing this and so much time building this out. And I refuse to mold it and iterate on it and kind of make it to what the market wants, which I think is like a huge, like, no, you can't do that. You have to constantly iterate. And I think it's also like another thing is that a lot of people, they don't want to do the marketing and the sales and they don't want to have customers because they're scared they're not going to like actually like their product. And the thing I've learned is that your product infinitely gets better the more customers you just take on and the more reps that you get and the more experience that you get. And I think like if you can get over that like mental barrier and you could just like be okay with, hey, I'm going to take on clients with what I have. And if they're not happy, I'm going to give them a refund. If they request it, like absolutely. And just have the mindset of like, I just want to take this customer on, not to make money, but to really just
to learn.
understand how to, learn, get that experience under my belt. And when you do that and you can just do that hundreds of times over and over again, like the product just naturally gets better. Cause then you just run into all the edge cases of like, oh, like a client isn't, understanding this. Okay, let me create a guide on this. Next time client comes around, cool. Here's this guide. They don't even ask you this question.
No,
It's just like,
absolutely. And that's actually, to further what advice I would give, I'd be like, dude, if you can create a product and get deals and actually maybe not even make any money, get clients on the board with you to learn, like that is probably going to be the biggest thing for your company long term. Just like get clients, right? Without clients, you don't have a business. So first things first, you need to figure out how to get clients. And in the beginning, when you're starting off and you're competing against companies like, that have social proof everything, you got to figure out what's your competitive edge, which probably is going to be price point or some crazy tech tool you have, right? So, get clients and fucking just figure out from there.
yeah. Well, what would you do or like, is there anything that you would redo if like you had to go back in time, to like kind of just grow cleverly even more or anything of that sort?
Ah, man, you read my blog. You know, I don't believe in regrets.
My bad, my bad. There's
No,
not there's not a single thing.
uh, you know, the reason why I don't like this question is because like it, do- like it doesn't actually help. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Because it like all those things that I regretted doing has led me to cleverly everything we regret doing has led us to where we are right now. So without those regrets, then I would never be, we never understand the information we have now. So, but if there was one thing just to play with you, I think really understanding the value of having a extremely thorough, tight lock hiring process and bringing the right people on your team from the beginning, right? A player on your team, hiring a player is equal to like 10 C, D players, like hands down. One person that understands what their role and is able to grow with that role and to solve problems for you. One takes the stress off your back as a founder, as an owner. Two, now gives you way more leverage to building out and scaling your company. So understanding what you need from that role and figuring out how to go find A players, even if you have to pay a little bit more for them, will will take you a long way. We didn't really understand that to understand how important that was until like a couple years ago. So now that we do, like the process to get on the cleverly team is just tight locked. Like we it has to be because anyone you bring on is going to influence everyone else on the team.
yeah. And do you want to kind of walk through your like your hiring process as well as your training process? And the reason why I ask this is because I think a lot of our hiring and training process came from like
Or
seeing
training.
leaders. Yeah, yeah. You know, it's hilarious. So like we're hiring a new hire, like maybe like the beginning of this year, right? And y'all's training was so good. So I was like, I'm just gonna copy literally everything in here. And I think there was things in there that were like Bruce's tips to like account management success. And I literally just rechanged it to mix field email success tips or whatever it was. And then I think
It's
I think
hilarious.
Cam and Nick were going through our training because they wanted to like learn some cold email thing or something. And they're all like, this looks so familiar to ours. And I was like, dude, it is yours. But yeah,
That's
like you want to
hilarious.
kind of talk about like, yeah, just y'all's recruiting process as well as like your onboarding process. Cause I think this is like, it's actually game changer and it made a lot of stuff for us a lot easier.
Yeah, yeah. So I'll start with the recruiting process again to onboarding, but recruiting, you know, we use all the job posting tools, our sites, etc. Have headhunters now. Actually, we're leading more towards headhunters because they can find us higher quality candidates. But the actual hiring process is we have a lot of mocks, right? We have a lot of tests within our process, whether that's a sales rep, whether that's an account manager, whatever role, we make sure to figure out a test, multiple tests that we can provide them and actually get and see the work that they can do before bringing them on as anyone in the company. I think it's just a standard thing in any, you know, Fortune 500 company or a tech startup is just tests, especially for engineers. So we just figured out how to implement that for, you know, our roles at Cleverly. So test. You don't know until you actually see the work someone can do. That's probably the biggest piece of advice on that point. And then culture match, right? If your team is a bunch of young people, you know, hiring someone that's in their 50s or 60s is not going to make sense culturally. So you have to have a nice culture match with your company already. Make sure that that fits as well. So if you can combine that the expertise, the testing with the culture match, usually you'll have a good fit. And we definitely lean towards someone that is extremely organized. Um, Mainly, man, like it's hard at our company to get anything done if you're not organized. So that has to be like a preset skill coming. Organized and a clear communicator are like mandatory things. We can train on skills. We can train on a lot of these things. Some things we can't train on, which is like organization and communication. So those are things you need coming in. On the onboarding side, there's a tool called trainual.com, Trainul. Do you guys know about it? basically allows you to streamline your onboarding process, videos, guides, everything you need. And you can add in tests so that as someone is going through your onboarding process or a system or a section, you can add a test at the end to make sure that they retained the knowledge. So that has been huge for us. It has cut down our onboarding time and ramped someone up. Maybe what usually took 6 months now takes 3 months because we have all these training deals built out for every role. Yeah, man. And then from there, honestly, man, throwing people in the fire.
Yeah.
That's it. That's
Yeah.
it. That's the passive way to learn.
Yeah. No, and I agree. And I think like when I saw y'all, like your recruiting process as well as onboarding process, we took it back in house and made it our own as well. And I think like, yeah, the assessment is the biggest piece in the recruiting process. It's like, you don't want to hire someone and then, give them the offer letter and like have everything planned out and then find out that they're just not the person for the job.
Yeah.
I've done that a lot of times. And it's just
Yeah.
like, it's just such a letdown too. Cause it's like, you just spent 3 weeks getting this person on board or just go to the interviews and offer letter, the negotiation on salary. And then, you hire them and then you're just like, oh, I got to let this person go in the next 5 days. Cause like,
Yeah.
they're just not the person. So then you got to restart that entire process again and it kicks you off another 6 weeks. So I would say like biggest takeaway there is one, assessment for sure. And sometimes and what we do right now is just like a simple paid assessment. We'll just send a gift card their way because it's just easier to get applicants to actually do that. Like, we do the first intro call. If our chief of staff likes that person, thinks they're a good person and could be a good person for the role. And like the things we assess for, like you mentioned, cultural fit, organization, and just like, we call it I don't have a word for it, but it's just like the compatibility test. It's like, if I can get on the call and they're just conversational and they're fun to be on the call with, and like, we're not even talking about work. We're just talking about like life. And I'm like,
Yeah,
oh, like, how's your
yeah.
day? Like, oh, what are you up to? Like, what are you doing this weekend? And like, they can't like give me normal answers. And they're like, oh, I'm meditating in the morning and reading the Bible or something. I'm like, no, you're not. There's no way. If you are, great to you, but
Yeah.
chances are probably not.
The truth is
Um,
everyone's gamifying their answers when you're just speaking to them. They're going to
Yeah.
give you the best answer. Like, oh yeah, no, I'm super organized. Oh yeah. I run a marathon every day. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like testing for those things. And then it's like, give them the assessment, then do a leadership call and then give the offer letter and see if it's a good fit. And then I think like with the onboarding process that you mentioned, we used to do a 30-day, like, you go through training, you'll self-learn all that. And then I was kind of thinking about it and I was like, dude, all of our best hires within 14 days, they're like, I already went through everything. I already know everything and I'm good.
Yeah.
And so it's like, we give them 14 days to go through the training. We'll give everything like listed out. We have daily check-ins, checkouts, and then obviously the assessments as well to kind of see how they're doing. And then it's throwing them in the fire.
Yeah, with some shadow help, like they always have support. That's the meeting. Like for the first 3 months, like you need to have someone that they can go to for support and maybe shadow some of their calls.
Yeah.
But like outside of that, once they know the knowledge, like they have to go and do the job in order to learn.
Yeah. And then it's like, after they or put it through the fire, my personal take is that you'll know within the first 30 to 45 days of someone being inside of your company if they're going to be a good fit or not. And if they're not, you have to make that decision, the hard decision, of just letting them go.
Fast.
Very
Yeah.
early on. Because like, if by like day 30, they're still not getting stuff and like, and that's the beauty of like, if you have a simple process, like we do as well as you do, if they're not getting it by day 30, there's probably something that's just not clicking and they're probably not, the person
right
for the
fit.
job is. Yeah. And then as well as like, if they're missing out on some of those daily requirements or those non-negotiables by day 30, you can almost guarantee by day 180, they're definitely not doing it. No, like not even like thinking about it. And so, yeah, I think like within 30 days, if they don't kind of hit those points, like they're probably not the best fit. And I think this is important for mostly just like startups. Cause I think like, at big organizations, you have to have more support. You have all these like little things that, as a startup that's young and stuff, you probably don't have. And so like, they could probably go 180 days with trialing a person before they decide to let him go. But in a startup, like you can't.
No,
Like,
no, you don't have
You
that.
need that person.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
don't have that time.
Yeah. You need that person being like active in day 30, like getting after it and really providing for the business. So yeah, I think that's a really big thing. I guess like, where do you see like Cleverly going in the next like year or two? Like any new
man.
plans on new services, anything like, where do you see it's the future of Cleverly?
honestly, like we're actually in a simplification mode right now, which is funny.
Mhm.
So no, we're doubling down on our core offerings, cold email, and LinkedIn. Um, and we have white label stuff. In terms of the new offerings coming out, I we don't have anything on the horizon. Mainly because we think what we have is good enough, and also attaching more leverage like AI tools to our current offerings to enhance them and provide better results, better output for our clients is kind of the focus. Goal wise, dude, we're at a point with the company right now, where to be honest, like we don't really have any like major company goals. Like we don't really have any revenue targets. Like we care about three things and three things only, right? Are our clients happy? Are we providing a top notch service, high quality service that is going to get people results, right? Are our clients happy? Is the team happy? Are we overwork? Are we making sure not to overwork everyone? Providing tools, systems in order for everyone to do their job and have a life outside of work. We're big. It's very important that, especially for someone wanting to stay at your company, to make sure that, they can still do everything they want to do outside of work and have the time for it. We implement 4-day work weeks or 4.5-day work weeks at Cleverly. Pretty much Friday is a half day or off, if you want. All your stuff is taken care of. So like just little things like that, is the team happy? Because that's people running your company. And the last thing is sustainability, right? And the only way for a company to be sustainable is profitability. So as long as we're profitable, the team is happy, and our clients are happy, that is the trifecta. And like we have a company, and I'm happy. So that's it.
That's awesome, dude. Well, cool, dude. I feel like we covered all our topics. Is there anything else that you want to end off with?
I guess I'll have to plug my blog, man. I have to plug my blog.
It's hilarious. I was literally thinking towards this, and I was like, I already know he's gonna plug his blog, his newsletter at the end. Hey, it's actually really good though. I get the daily eval, and I actually love it. It's like a real
Yeah.
quick, easy one.
Yeah, yeah. I'm moving into like a couple a week, not daily anymore. But yeah, if you guys want to check me out, I run like this, I guess kind of just check it out. BRUC3.com. BRUC3.com. Yeah.
Yeah, he posts like a lot of like, it's like a lot of like mental clarity related things, and it's good. It's like a good thing to get via eval. Also, super
Yeah.
random. Like, a side note, I tried to reply to one of your emails, just like, I love this, Bruce. You're the best, or something like that, and then it bounced because it was like, well,
Well,
no reply emails.
no, I changed that feature because people were hitting me up, and now you can reply to emails on it. So,
All right. So if you guys get the emails from Bruce, start reply to him. Start engaging. All right, sick. Bruce, thanks so much for coming on. It was excited to talk to you about. Yeah,
I like your little moving camera. It makes you look a lot. It makes you look a lot cooler, actually.
yeah. We'll rerun this in like 6 months. I want to get updates on Cleverly and see how everything else is progressing.
Sick, man. Thank you, man. This
Let's
has
do it.
been awesome.